to putting pictures of our history. Photography is so important to telling stories about history, and we in South Carolina formerly have not been known for involvement in the American civil rights movement and the progress that took place, bringing down the barriers to segregation. But in South Carolina, we have so many untold stories that are yet to be known. And one of the ways to save these stories of sacrifice, these stories of overcoming, is to have a museum like we are developing here in Orangeburg. And this is little Harry Briggs here in the tree. And this is the automobile, of course, that he used to leave the state of South Carolina. I was not welcome as an African American youth and as a photographer in the state newspaper, but I could go upstairs where the Associated Press used many of my photographs during the 1960s. We're anticipating moving into a larger museum. This is one of the conceptual designs. It may change a lot in square footage, but hopefully between 10,000 and 14,000 square feet.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner Davis.
My, what a lead off, man. I'll tell you that NBC piece was really, really informative. Okay, we're going to get into more of that. Good evening, by the way, and I'm your host, Ed McQueen. Of course, Ms. Ada Garner Davis, co-host, and we're at WCM Live. I got to keep saying that. Like I said earlier, we're going to start delving into some of the things that we need to take more action on, and even in South Carolina and really nationally too. But today we just want to focus on, as you can see at the bottom of the screen here, the Civil Rights Museum, and this is located in Orangeburg. April, I think you know a bit more about that yourself, even though you went to University of South Carolina, but South Carolina State is right there in Orangeburg, and it's become quite a bit in the news here recently. With a few things I don't want to get into right now, but anyway, we have Mr. Cecil Williams with us this evening, and he is the CEO of the Civil Rights Museum of. These are my words: the South Carolina Civil Rights Museum. Black Civil Rights Museum. Okay. Other people can kind of manipulate the title as they see fit. But anyway, we have with us this evening Mr. Cecil Williams, and we've had him on here before for a number of things, and each time he's given us some good progress on this beautiful, man, I'm telling you, this new museum that's coming up downtown Orangeburg. A little departure from where it exists today, but what the one exists today is really, to me, was fantastic, and a number of children that we brought there in the past, they've just been elated over that thing. Everybody, they want to go back. Okay, so April, what do you think?
Well, first of all, we want to thank our audience for joining us tonight, and if you will, please drop your questions and comments in the chat for our very special guest, Mr. Cecil Williams, and I'm sure that you're going to learn a lot about his endeavor to create the South Carolina Civil Rights Museum during this broadcast. And we also have access to the previous broadcast where he's been a guest on our show. So he's pretty much a regular, which means he's a part of our WCM family. And we thank him for making the time to be with us tonight. I just want to share a little bit with all of you about who Cecil Williams is. And you're probably scratching your head like, who are they talking about? Well, if you have Google, you can find out anything you want just about anybody in the world, really. What we know about Mr. Cecil Williams is that his early work began at a very early age of 14, where he began photographing civil rights events in South Carolina. As a child, I became a contributing photographer for Jet Magazine. Brother Eric, you remember Jet Magazine? I miss Jet Magazine and Ebony. I miss both. But yeah, he was a contributing photographer for Jet Magazine at the age of 14. He's documented crucial milestones, including the Briggs versus Elliott case in 1951 and the Orangeburg massacre in 1968. The famous whites only photo gained viral attention globally for its 1956 photograph of Mr. Williams drinking from a segregated water fountain. And as Brother Edward mentioned, he is the museum founder of the South Carolina Civil Rights Museum in Orangeburg, where he has a growing initiative to preserve decades of deep South history. And of course, Mr. Williams cannot do this without the support of community, and more than just the Orangeburg community. Communities all over the country would definitely benefit from this preservation of history. And so without further ado, we're going to bring on now Mr. Cecil Williams. How are you doing this evening?
Well, good evening to both of you. Thank you for this opportunity again to speak to your part of the state of South Carolina. You know, down here in Orangeburg in the Midlands, we don't nearly get enough information about what's happening in your neck of the woods, and for that matter, even the upstate. So whenever I have opportunity for any cause to be on here, again, it's been my great pleasure, because we need to kind of stick together. And a lot of times, I think things that are happening in your area are reflective of what's happening in our area and around the state. So that I appreciate very much. So thank you very much for inviting me again.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so, of course, you know, during the pre-show, Brother Edward and I were prepping for all the things we're going to talk about, and more importantly, the support that's needed in order to make this museum come to fruition. But just in case some of you aren't able to connect the dots, I want to show just a few photos of Mr. Williams so that everyone can see even his historical timeline. So, Mr. Williams, if you will help us then to understand what photos we're looking at today.
Oh, that's a picture of me on the cover of the latest book. This is done by a state newspaper for author, and this book is now a little over a year ago, but this is the latest book that's published by University of South Carolina Press, Injustice in Focus, and it's sold throughout everywhere and available. Yes.
Awesome.
A photograph of me in Orangeburg as a young person with a speed graphic camera, reflective of that time when we used those great big cameras to get pictures.
Yes.
I guess
yes.
I was about 16, 17, 18, I'm not sure what age.
And during that time, they used dark rooms to develop the film.
The era of dark room, analog.
Dark rooms.
Yes.
Yes. I remember the smells.
Yeah. But believe it or not, some of the most, those are some of the most preserving photos. When you do them with analog and in the dark room. In some cases, better than digital. Okay.
And of course, the picture that everyone is familiar with, that everyone has probably seen, is this iconic photo.
This was me at 18 years old doing something my mother had warned me not to do, but many times in my life I did this very same thing. Except this time, my friend Rundle Harper, who was with me, he picked up the camera and captured me doing this at a filling station about 25 miles from Orangeburg, between Roseville and Walterboro. I went back there several years ago to see the station was there, and of course it was long gone, and of course the water fountains and everything else. But it did not surface and come out until 2005, when a photographer from Columbia snapped a picture out of my book that was available at that time, Out of the Boxing Dixie, and then it went viral on the social media, and just kept, getting, getting a lot of attention, especially during Black History Month. But it was something that, I did many times. Not only this kind of act of defiance, but also I did something like this with a playground, because the Black-owned playground in Orangeburg was, not a good place to. The equipment was in bad shape, and you might say, integrated a playground. But when my mother found out about this, I did get a royal chewing out, so to speak.
I got you.
Well, this was a dangerous act, and you just said the location was at some service stations. Remote, sound like it was remote from all the city where all the population was. I mean, that was dangerous, man. You could have been killed.
Yeah, we did it less than a minute too. That's the other thing. We stopped at the station. I got out and left the door open. Rendell snapped me. I got back in the car, and then I have a picture of him drinking out of the fountain as well. Yes.
And then, of course, we're going to bring you up to 2025, 2026 with this also iconic photo. Actively Black campaign. You were doing New York. Was it New York Fashion Week?
Oh, yeah, during the New York Fashion Week, Mr. Laney Smith, who owns that, who created that, invited me to be on Broadway. And, on that Broadway walk was phenomenal. There were thousands of people, and I had a chance to model the the hoodie that my wife provided the glasses and also the telephone there, and kind of instructed me what to do there. But it was and people were shouting, he ain't afraid. He ain't afraid.
That's right. Actually,
I was afraid. Yeah.
So we just want to give everyone kind of a little pictorial history so that they can understand who we have with us tonight. And I'm always excited that you're here. And of course, Brother Edward and Sister Joella, they definitely speak highly of you and hold you in high respect, as well as Ms. Marjorie McIver.
And that goes back to them as well. Having that kind of friendship, and people that do what they say they're going to do, and people that even in their retirement years are still active because they know there's work to be done. Just like my wife and I, we are long past our retirement age, but we nevertheless know there's so much to be done. In our particular case, what we are doing has a divine journey, though, and origin, because certainly, although, again, I'm physically and she's physically putting herself forward, the creation of the first and only Civil Rights Museum in South Carolina was something that I really did not envision doing myself. I'm a photographer, and I did not have millions of dollars, but again, a divine journey. And I think somebody had to do it. And I believe that God, again, led me down this journey and provided a path. And we're almost there. Yes, we do have some remaining problems, but we are so very close. It's sort of, in a way, there's a novel called The Tale of Two Cities, I believe, where I think it starts out when saying it was the best of times and also the worst of times. But as you know, the International African American Museum in Charleston, that beautiful museum there, took about 27 years to come into existence, where we have been in existence now since 2019, about 7 years. So we are building a new building in Orangeburg, being built by the city, the county, and with folks like Congressman Jim Clyburn also helping us. It's something that's coming along, but we do have a few remaining problems and obstacles to overcome. And that's what led to our current position that Laney Smith started a GoFundMe. I had started one several months back, and it did not go very far in raising funds. But Laney Smith, due to his massive network of people all over the country, started it. And I'm very happy to say now our effort to raise $500,000, well, it's at about $28,000 now. So we are very appreciative to everyone who contributed to that. There are donations as small as $5 on there. So it just kind of shows you collectively what is possible when we get together for a noble cause. And I believe this is not only a noble cause, but it is again, a God-driven, a divine journey that we are engaged in.
Yeah, I think this is going to happen, man. I know you're a little behind now with the scheduled construction of the museum, but tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
Well, again, we should have been in the museum in December of 2024,
Right.
because that was about 2 years where we started. But again, it's not something that all the money was immediately available for. The city and the county is sort of trying to pull this together. And you can imagine that the current situation in Washington in the national climate is also anti-productive to make this happen in real time. So we are behind time with it. And but they're at the stage now where they're dropping wires from the ceiling to put in the Wi-Fi, the security, and also other kinds of things that are needed in a museum. We hope that we are looking at about 2 months from actually being present in the museum to start transforming it from an empty building into a world-class museum. And we really mean that. We're not going to have, for example, for those folks out there that want to visit our current museum, for very little money that my wife and I had put together with a 501c3 nonprofit, we started the museum we have now, and people can come visit it. The museum,
Right.
in fact, we've had over 75,000 people in the current museum, about 12,000 school-aged children, and we don't charge anything. We feel that it would be counterproductive to the people that we serve to charge to come in. You're welcome to come in at any time. So we have thousands of people. But after we brought 75,000 people into the museum without the help of the city, the county, and anyone else, they looked up and say, hey, we're going to help you. They're building a building in downtown Orangeburg. So we have a building that is without cost to us. We have the artifacts. The other unusual thing about our museum is that even though we are a very small museum, we have a big history. A museum is made out of its artifacts, its images, its documents. And even though we are a little museum, we have more artifacts in our museum than the big museum in Charleston, which is 8 or 10 times bigger than our museum.
Right.
So
Right.
because we have a 70-year-old collection of artifacts. So and so that's something that we're trying to do. And we just don't want to bring into fruition, you might say, a museum. We want it to be a world-class museum to tell great stories about the fantastic things that people in South Carolina did. By the way, this is just not a museum period. It's a civil rights museum to commemorate that period of history between 1940 and 1970. But South Carolina is left out of the national timeline. We're left
Right.
out of the history books. Our historians, credentialed as they may be, still don't even tell our story because we have not published the things that we did and the adventures we had and the challenges that we had. It was in South Carolina that the American Civil Rights Movement started. But who knows that except those of us who might have been engaged, where the events that we talk about predate our great and illustrious, the Reverend Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and the people of Montgomery, Alabama. We have civil rights events happening before they did, but nobody knows about it. Very few people know about it except us who, again, here in South Carolina. So we want this national story. We want to commemorate the people who made those sacrifices. And also, it's coming along at a time in America, and believe it or not, only God could do something like this. You might say a civil rights movement, civil rights museum coming into play in 2026. Now imagine that, given the national, say, things that are happening out there from the administration onward. The pursuit for civil rights must still go on and we have an administration that wants to take this culture out of the schools. They don't want these stories told, but they have to be told, and there's nothing that can prevent them from being told. So it has become our time in our society at this moment to bring these stories forward so that everyone will be able to know about the great and miraculous thing that people in South Carolina did to make the civil rights movement what it was, to
Absolutely.
make the schools available so that everyone, you see, that's what the civil rights movement was all about. It was about, again, tweaking the 14th Amendment and the U.S. Constitution without weapons. So it's the only time in history when such a drastic revolution took place without weapons. That's what makes it so very important.
Yeah, and you chronicalized that. I think at every tour, every time, at least the tours that we've taken there with children, and you've told the major role that South Carolina played in getting the civil rights scenarios and position that is in today. That was very, very interesting. I tell you, I just didn't know until I came to you, till I went to your museum. I just didn't know about that.
Well, we have so much history. In fact, we have 3 containers behind our museum, our present museum, but we just thought we have run out of room. So we can't wait to get into the new museum where we can showcase these things. However, the current situation to raise funds through the GoFundMe is because even though we thought we had sufficient money to do this with, there's a document that I'd like to show to you, which kind of gives you the idea of where I'm coming from. If you would look very carefully at this document, you would see that in the red block, there are 2 red blocks on there. If you could kind of condense it a little less, or maybe it is showing, the 2 red dots show some place of some idea of what happened to some of the money. Under the USDA funds, which was procured by Congressman Clyburn, we thought we had about $700,000 that we'd be able to do the interior of the museum. However, we didn't know that the county was going to take nearly $400,000 of those dollars to again finish building the museum. So that put a damper on us trying to do the interior. So we have roughly $300,000 to do the interior, but the interior would be costing about $700,000. But in the amount that you see in is sort of a pale yellow or greenish color.
Yeah.
You can see there where there is a listing there of $125,000. But what happened, that comes with a sort of catchy position. What happened, that $125,000 can only be purchased for things in the museum that are listed on the South Carolina procurement. So you can buy showcases that way. You can buy display cases. You can buy some lighting, and you can buy some other things. But how can you say buy something like this next illustration is going to show you? How can we buy from procurement, say, if we wanted to do the Althea Gibson? I think you would pull that up. You see, you can't, this is not on the South Carolina procurement. Her statue is not on there. The background is not on there. The signage is not on there. The displays are not on there. So this has been very hard to communicate to those decision makers who are helping us, that the fact that museums are a little different kind of entity to the usual building. And so this is why we're trying to raise, we're about a minimum of $500,000 on this pursuit. After we say, hopefully raise those funds, then we have one other hurdle. The operational funds, which we also think would cost about $450,000 to $500,000, and we are also asking this county and city to help us there, but they have not committed to do that. But our current need is $500,000, and I think now we're about $28,000 of that already raised through the GoFundMe. So I hate to, again, each time come on your program appear to be begging, but when my wife and I took this upon as a responsibility, it was not something that we really were trying to get involved in. It just so happened that, again, we feel that we are part of really a divine journey to make this happen, because somebody had to put this history together, because it's our last generation. It's our last effort our last opportunity to tell these stories because we're all aging, and soon there will be no one who knows these stories, and thus thousands of people in South Carolina whose stories will remain unknown if something like this is not done.
Right, right. Let me clear something up to our viewers. We don't consider that begging that you're doing. It's just something, and this appeal should be across the board. Really, South Carolina itself should be able to just absorb whatever challenges, monetary challenges anyway, that you're going to be facing. They really should. I think probably that the information hadn't gotten out there well enough to let people know how important it is. Okay, and the magnitude of your effort itself.
The state of South Carolina, we have asked them since 2019 for their help. They have given us some help, but they won't give us the kind of help that would be instrumental enough to help us to do what the task remains to be done. Museums cost millions, and my wife and I certainly did not have millions. But again, we brought the museum along a long way. And it's not that we are not without effort in trying to do something. We're trying to raise money in-house. Even though we are free to visit, coming to our museum, the only income stream that we have that makes money inside the museum is our bookstore, our gift shop, our souvenirs. I'd like to show you one little, I call it a spoof on the water fountain thing. It's something that we recently designed to sell in our gift shop. For example, here's a little tin that normally people put tea in this, but as you see, it's sort of made like the water fountain. And if you look very close, you'll see. But inside here are white mints. The wintergreen mints. So that's one of the little things that we sell. We manufacture this with 3D equipment and sell it in our museum. And then we have another item that we manufactured in a museum. Again, it's a water fountain, white on it. And this is a toy bank, a bank that you put, your mostly.
Well, that's creative. That's creative.
And this really is something that we are actually making in our own gifts. And we sell this we're trying to make, things that are unique. So when our visitors come in, we have not charged them to come in, but we're offering them things that hopefully will be something they can use when they leave our museum memento. We wanted to go beyond the magnets. We wanted to go beyond the hats. We wanted to even go beyond the T-shirts and the hoodies. We wanted to offer unique items that can only be sourced from our museum. Of course, our art also is something that's unique. We intend to be a ongoing art gallery inside the museum to produce not only civil rights related, but human rights related, you might say, the struggle for mankind to lift itself up and outward so that we can all become, again, part of that American dream. And we haven't gotten there yet today in this society, unfortunately.
And that's true.
Mr. Williams, are there not any grant possibilities that are out there that are like art-based or arts-based?
The South Carolina Arts Commission has been very good to us. Ever since we started, we've had one. However, grants are, or you might say one thing, grants do not in any way allow operational funds or support to buy, say, and do the interior of the museum. A grant, you have to perform something specific that the grant is written for. So although those are very helpful, only about 10% of the money we can get from a grant can go towards administrative fees. And we learned that. So grants are pretty plentiful out there, but it also comes with, some commitments that you have to, for example, a lot of times you get a grant and guess what? You have to hire a person to administer that grant because we have a very small staff. And the other thing that's affecting us from a dynamic standpoint and so disappointing is the fact that the great conglomerates, industry, the big industries that have located here in South Carolina,
who sell to the world won't help us. I don't think I have to mention any names on here, but you can imagine all those that are capable, those big companies that have
Yeah.
found home in South Carolina. Guess what? They're not helping us. They again are sort of seemingly hooked into the current administration, and we could not also get funds from. We've written appealing to them. We've had meetings with them, but they just won't again help us in the way that they can help. Not even help us in the way that they helped the International African American Museum 3 and 4 years ago. And the other thing was that you could see that even the International African American Museum, after being in operation only 3 years, right now, because they were depending on recurring money from the state, by the way, as it is in most other states like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and most other southern states, the state government, they take a role in this, but not South Carolina. Out of 20 holdings by the South Carolina Parks and Recreation, there's not one African American entity that they handle. Not a single one. Nothing.
Well, yeah. One of the consequences of that, my understanding is that the International African American Museum in Charleston has gone through a furlough. They furloughed some employees.
Yes, because they were depending on. They did get state funding, as we did a small amount, but
Right.
they were depending on that to, again, like is the model that's been set in almost all the other nations' museums, including the museum in Washington, which relies on federal funding, but state funding and federal funding, but it didn't come into being. And so what happened, that beautiful museum in Charleston finds itself in a very precarious
Yeah.
situation to have to furlough only after 3 years. We don't want that to happen to us. We will not have nearly the staff and overhead they will have, but nevertheless, even with a museum that's only 1/10 the size of it, there will be operational funding, and that's the story, that would be yet to come. But we must try and raise the funds. We will not settle for just mediocre exhibits and storytelling. It's got to be top line. It's got to be top shelf. We want this museum to be reflective of the great talents and the great people in the state of South Carolina. And you can't just, we can't go to Dollar General and Walmart to get those materials. They must be built, again, with first-class material, first-class labor, and also envisioned in the way that storytelling takes place in a museum. Our museum, by the way, is not just an Afrocentric museum. It's for everyone. We depict and portray whites, Black Americans, Native Americans, Jewish people,
Right.
young and old. So anyone, you see, it was not us only as African Americans that really were trailblazers. It took many other kinds of people to really, again, help us to, again, achieve the freedom, the justice, and equality that we, engaged in the civil rights movement. It took a lot of people, and we want to showcase all those people. We will also try to play a role of setting the you might say, tone for racial harmony. You see, racial harmony, very important. We have to let our white friends know that we realize that there always have been more good people than bad people. And almost every day we have a cross section of South Carolinians coming into our museum. Even in the little museum we have nearly 500 people coming in every week, even here. And about 25% of them are our white friends who are, again, reaching across the aisles and to really help us. And we appreciate that. And they will be welcome. No, we're not going to sanitize our history. We're going to tell the truth, but still yet we're going to tell it in a balanced way to reflect also those people, whatever color they might be. Wade Waring, a judge in Charleston, whose father fought in the Civil War, is portrayed prominently in our museum. The Wade Waring Courthouse Judicial Center in Charleston, a white gentleman who, again, paid the price when he, again, equalized school pay in the state. But he will find a prominent place in our museum because he did that, something that was needed. And but where do you find his history? Nowhere. Where do you find the history of the Tuskegee Airmen, brave soldiers who fought for the democracy of this country? There's an airplane sitting out in front of Shaw. There's an airplane in Walterboro, but there's no place that showcases the history that you can go read about. But we would have the biggest exhibit any place of the Tuskegee Airmen. We would have the biggest exhibit of the Orangeburg Massacre, the biggest exhibit of Althea Gibson, the biggest exhibit of the Briggs petitioners of Clarendon County, the biggest, again, museum exhibit anywhere in even national museums. But again, we need the help of our population. We need to reach back to ask everyone to help us to do this. We can't do it by ourselves. So your support would be greatly appreciated. You can name a room in our museum for a loved one. You can name a walkway. You can endow an exhibit. And no amount of contribution is unappreciated. Each dollar helps us. For children, there are opportunities if they just wanted to contribute $1. And it's on our website. When children contribute $1, there's a place for them in our museum. But naturally, it's going to take, again, significant. We cannot, at this point in the operation of our museum and in this fundraising campaign, it's too late to sell chicken dinners. We can't do it doing that. We can't do it with mom and pop kinds of things. Music, for example, it took 20 some years for the International African American Museum to come along. And so we've done everything up to this part in 1/3 of that time. In only 7 years, we reached the point where we have a brand new museum right across the street from South Carolina State and Claflin, and it's ours. And we have to seize the moment, and we need your help to do that. So please help us.
Well,
Go ahead. I was going to say, I wonder if there's, well, first of all, what you have, said beautifully is kind of summed up as you need unrestricted gifts in order to make sure that you can handle whatever renovations are needed, but also operations once you have it open. So unrestricted gifts are needed. And you're right about the grant pieces. They are very specific, and some aren't always rooted in unrestricted gifts. I'm wondering if, there's any possibilities to have any partnerships developed with the 2 local universities that are there. Don't know if you've tried that route or whatever, but, I would think that there are enough, extensions from those institutions, but also just within the Orangeburg community to, like you said, deepen this network to make sure that everyone knows what you're trying to do. And also it actually could be a huge economic center for Orangeburg in terms of tourism and all of that. So, you're to be commended for doing so much in such a little bit of time. And hopefully, like you said, the messages will go viral. You will get people like Laney Smith and others to actually be a part of this campaign and push forward more. And we certainly are asking anyone who is willing to help to go to your GoFundMe page. And I'm going to pull that up right now so that everyone can see what it looks like and you'll know it's legit. But here is the GoFundMe page where Mr. Cecil Williams is asking for donations. Help Cecil Williams finish Civil Rights Museum. As you can see, the amount that he's trying to raise is $500,000, and already about $26,000 has been raised. You can not only donate, but you can also share this. So if you feel so inclined to share it within your network, please do. Push this out to people that you know. And like he says, I don't care if it is $5. It makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference.
The presidents of Claflin University, Dr. Womack, the president of South Carolina State, Dr. Conyers, they are on our board. So we have a very illustrious board made up of Black and white citizens who are, again, very helpful. But as you know, our college universities are also strapped for, again,
They are.
operating capital. They're always underfunded as well. But we will have internships available from their students. In fact, already a flagship University of South Carolina, we will have, again, two, interns working with us from those institutions. By the way, we will also be an art gallery inside the museum. In addition to the podcast that I mentioned upstairs, we will also have things like a restoration laboratory. Imagine that in everyone's scrapbook, probably that's listening to this broadcast, you probably have pictures that are fading away or getting so that you can't hardly see them. They're turning brown or whatever. Well, we would have a laboratory there that we can bring those back. So we will also use these kind of means to have a revenue stream coming into
Right.
to help us be self-supported. All we're asking now is to help us to, again, raise the kind of capital that is needed so that we can go first class inside. We're first class outside. The building is there. It's almost ready. Again, we've been given these opportunities by the state of by the county and the city of Orangeburg, but we need this next stage also, great input from the public and help from the public.
Wow. Well, thank you for that elaboration on that, Mr. Williams. I was really impressed with the proposed Aletha Gibson. Is that a statue? Is that a lifelike size?
That is a statue. And to kind of give an example, the statue itself is about $28,000. Again, this one exhibit here is probably slightly less than $80,000 in order to erect it, to give it, again, a professional look, a storytelling, so that we just don't want, again, some wallpaper and signage up there. We really want to give people the kind of tribute you would expect if you went to the museum in Washington, as you will get, and there's one if you go into one in Charleston, a first-class exhibition of what South Carolinians. This is a place where we're not going to compromise with, say, just getting by. We want this to be reflective of the great, again, tributes and the great heroism of the people of South Carolina. We can't go half-stepping with this. Althea Gibson was a product of Silver, South Carolina, about 40 miles from where I stand. She, like Jackie Robinson, broke into tennis. And again, someone that, where is there a salute to her? Where is there a permanent place that youth of the day can be encouraged to stay on the right side of growing up, so to speak? If we don't give them, you might say, an alternative of on the right side growing up, why can we now sit back and then criticize them when they get weapons or they're attracted to AK-15s or something? What alternatives, educators, are we giving them? You see, so this is part of our inherited, again, things that we must do in our museum.
Man, it looks you got more stuff that right now beyond your existing museum that you said that's stored in the back someplace where
yes.
And you just waiting to display it.
We're waiting to display it. We're waiting so that we can have it fabricated. See, fabrication again is something that a carpenter and that kind of thing, they get together and they do this. Of course we have to order the statue and order the parts, and we can't do this on the South Carolina procurement. It must be something that again must be built and fabricated.
Okay, this sounds.
Pardon me.
You may have touched base on it a little bit, but when you said that the civil rights journey actually started in South Carolina, you at one of your lectures you gave you kind of chronicalized a gentleman that started it, and he had to go through a lot of stuff. In fact, they made him leave town. And outside the existing museum right now is the car, and you wanted to keep that car that got out and ran out of town with, and you're holding on to it right now. It's outside of your museum. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, there were 4 incidents that predate what we've all heard about the Reverend Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and the people of Montgomery, Alabama. Now,
Right.
don't take anything away from those great civil rights leaders.
Right.
They were very brave, and they deserve all the honor that we can give them. However, the timeline from which they occur, it can't be moved. We can't be changed. It's not something that you can opinionate or just make. South Carolina, let's, for example, one of the first incidents that impacted and started the civil rights movement was in Batesburg, South Carolina. Isaac Woodard, a soldier getting off a bus, was again arrested because he had made the bus driver angry. And when they got to Batesburg, South Carolina, the bus driver reported him to the local police. When that police officer blinded Isaac Woodard, it set off a series of circumstances, again, that impacted history. When the white police officer who struck and blinded Isaac Woodard was carried to trial and found innocent in 30 minutes, that infuriated President Harry Truman, who integrated the armed services, consisting of 4 million soldiers at that time. So that was a gigantic act of civil rights that happened 9 years before
Right.
Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks coming to being in 1955, just to kind of give an example. And then there are 3 other incidents like this, including the car, which was again driven by Reverend J.A. Delane, who had to escape fearing his life after he helped put together the Briggs petition of Clarendon County. And I think many of you educators might know of Brown versus Board of Education, that case that also has a great impact. Now, you know of it as Brown, but actually it should have been Briggs. But because of our relaxed attitudes towards our own history, and because of, again, Governor Jimmy Burns, the Brown versus Board of Education is misnamed. It should have been Briggs versus Elliott, because that was the first case that attacked segregation in public education in America. And for 2 years, it resided at the Supreme Court before being joined by 4 other cases. And the Brown case of Topeka, Kansas, was the 4th of the 5 cases. Yet it's named after, again, Brown versus Board of Education. Some of our history that slipped away, and we let it happen. We didn't contest it. We haven't spoken about it. Nobody has raised the issue. But these are the kind of things that we want to do.
Wow. I recall listening to your lecture one time, and again, I reiterate that there was just new revelations there that really left me in awe. I tell you, you have a wall there, a wall of not artifacts but photos that depicts some of the journeys of your museum. I think we were looking at that a little earlier.
Yes, that's by the way, during COVID, that's what I did. I made that wall. You remember that period when we were scared of each other. so I had a lot of time on my hand, and I made 100 posters that reflect South Carolina civil rights history. Again, we mostly portray the period 1940 to 1970. That's the period of America's civil rights history as well.
Yeah.
Of course, many people have heard about the Orangeburg massacre, and of course, we have the largest exhibit anywhere of that. But the civil rights movement started, and again, many of the other incidents. Take, for example, the credit that Greensboro, North Carolina has for December 1st, 1960, the first sit-ins. Not so. We did sit-ins in 1955 here in Orangeburg, but it's not known. And the historians teaching history don't know it. So again, we can't blame them entirely because we have not tooted our own home.
Wow. That was famous, the sit-ins during that time.
Yes.
They were catalysts, strong catalysts, and making sure that we get to where we are today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brave
even though we
people,
have a long way to go.
Ordinary citizens. In fact, we hope to dedicate the museum to the student. the students' presence in the civil rights movement cannot be overlooked. And I'm talking about the national civil. You
That's
see,
right.
it was the students who marched, the students who went to jail, the
Right.
students who died mostly.
Uh-huh.
Of course, they were joined, but we can't overlook the power, the capacity, and the fact that the students came alive to make the movement work. Sure, we older folks and their guardians and parents contributed, but the student must be given credit for their role in the American civil rights movement, not only in South Carolina, but nationally as well.
Yeah. When you speak of students, first thing you think of is John Lewis and SHAKE, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Yes.
Now, he was a part of the originator of that. He and a few others, I think Stokely Carmichael was part of that, I believe. But I wholeheartedly agree that you can't leave that out. You can't leave that generation who were students at the time out.
With the Orangeburg massacre, 3 students died and 28 were injured, for example. Again, a story that, not in many of our history books. Nevertheless, it's a supreme sacrifice being taken to integrate a bowling lanes. That cannot be overlooked in history. If there were not but one, commemoration in our museum, it would be worth it, and that is the Orangeburg Massacre. The Orangeburg Massacre was, again, something that happened in 1968, something that, again, was unique to South Carolina, something unique to Orangeburg, where a segregated bowling lane was permitted to operate. And again, in the aftermath, highway patrolmen shot into a crowd of students, killed 3 and injured 28. And that is called the Orangeburg Massacre. And of course, and to tell those stories, to kind of give an example of our perspective is, the museums tell stories in 3 different kind of ways. They do it through artifacts, they do it through documents, and they do it through manuscripts and objects. And so for the Orangeburg Massacre, to fully tell the story, we have, out of the 12 shells that were used by the highway patrolmen to shoot the students, I picked up a dozen of them on the ground the next morning. Because the night before, I had been there 1 hour before the shooting took place and left to go get a hamburger. I was the South Carolina State College photographer at the time. And I left 1 hour before the shooting started. So that's the closest I've ever come to, say, being in harm's way. The water fountain was a breeze. We did that in 1 minute. Nobody even could even react. And I got more chewing out and terror from my parents than I did from the water fountain people, from the service station that I did.
Right.
I suffered more from that. But again, these are the kind of stories that we tell with those 3 or 4 things that tell the stories, and we have the original shells in our museum to tell those stories. We have one of the most valuable artifacts in civil rights history. The history that took place began with the Briggs case in Clarendon County. We have the Briggs family Briggs family Bible. The Bible was something that the Smithsonian tried to get 70 years ago after the story of the Briggs family ordeal in Clarendon County got national attention. So the Smithsonian tried to get that Bible. Well, we've got it. So it's our most valuable asset. We want also artifacts, documents, photographs from your area, from the PD and from up your way and Atlantic Beach and all the other things, because certainly I was a lot of places, but I didn't get all the pictures of everything. So the public and people in your community who've got artifacts and photographs in their houses or in their attics and their scrapbooks, please think about contributing to our museum so we can tell these kind of stories.
Yeah, wow.
Well, I tell you, this is very compelling, and it's intriguing. It's our history, and it's everything that you shared tonight is all the more reason why we need to support it. Carolyn Hickman Williams, thank you for watching tonight. She says, thanks for sharing all this valuable history. Can't wait to visit the new museum. I will donate to the GoFundMe project.
Thank you.
Marjorie McIver, thank you for watching tonight. You have my full financial support as well as spreading the word.
Thank you.
And so, yes, and so this is what we can do to support, keep pushing the message that you are trying to finish the Civil Rights Museum, sharing it within our networks so that we can help. Every dollar counts. You were talking about the New York Fashion Week event that you attended, and the fact that gentleman has 500,000 followers. If all of his followers gave $1, you would have your money.
That's it right there.
You would have the funding that you need.
Going back even before that picture surfaced of me drinking out of a water fountain, Snoop Dogg about 5 years ago was talking about it on his network, and his network was about 250,000 people. And I said, wow, just think that if each one of them just sent me $1, we don't have $250,000. And then the young man, Jamal, what's his name? He died recently, the swimming accident.
Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Malcolm Jamal. He made a song that included me, again, and some of the other African Americans that had gone through history. And I think he had over 1 million followers. But I didn't have, you might say, the what connection, I guess, to really say, well, hey, how about just send $1? It would really help us to pull this all off. We would have the money that we could independently make the decisions to make the exhibits that tell our stories. And so images, by the way, are one of the most underrated tools we have in educators.
Yeah.
It's something that is so powerful. You see, images, and I'm very glad that I've been a photographer all my life, but you see, educators, images are 8 times more effective as a learning tool.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other learning tool like images. One of the things we've done recently was to tell the story about what's happening in the state of South Carolina. And I'm gonna go away from to find it for you. To tell the story about Briggs versus Elliott, what we did, we produced a graphic novel. The graphic novel, okay, some can call it a comic book. Okay, call it a comic book if you like, but it's a graphic novel. But John Lewis, again, our beloved legislator and again, civil rights pioneer and a person that really equaled Martin Luther King in the things he did to bring down the barriers of segregation in this country.
Absolutely, yeah.
Again, he published a number of graphic novels because he found that an effective way of telling a story, combining short captions with small pictures to tell the story. So we are producing things like that in-house in order to educate we also have on our website lesson plans to help again teachers to be able to teach again history and beyond just social studies. See, the pursuit for freedom, justice, and equality goes beyond their social studies classroom. It is in every aspect of your educational journey, even from physical education, mathematics, any course you take in school during your education, again, has a component of it still yet that involves the you might say the journey or the plight of freedom, justice, and equality. It is the cornerstone of us as a nation and as the democracy. And it has to be, again, a way to tell those stories. And we tell them, of course, through images such as these that you're now seeing on our screen.
Mm-hmm. This is awesome. And here are the resources that he's talking about, the lesson plans, student teacher guides. Yes. All of this can be found on the website, SouthCarolinaCivilRightsMuseum.com. So he's already a wealth of information and resources for not only classrooms, but, this is the type of thing we need to be talking about around our dinner tables at home with our children. And just, sharing within our social circles so that we can support something that truly would belong to us and would be, by us and for us, all the things. So, Mr. Williams, you're doing an incredible job. And
absolutely incredible.
I'd like to give a
incredible
shout out
guy.
also to my wife, because she's been a co-partner in this journey. For the listening audience out there, my wife is an AKA. She's a graduate of South Carolina State, but she's also the only person of color on the Medical University of South Carolina. But she's done so much also to awaken the cause and to help us. She's the president of the local NAACP. And again, she is, with her contacts, is also, again, right there with me. The other day, I had a family reunion asked to come into our museum. And it was Saturday, in fact. And I asked them how many would be coming in. The lady said, oh, about 15 or 16. So make a long story short, it turned out that the family reunion, about 45 people came in. And being that our house is right next to the museum, my wife looks out the window and see all these cars up and down the street. So she came over to help me to kind of, she knew I was in trouble. And so I'd like to give a shout out to her because, again, she's the wind beneath my wings, and again, so supportive. And also one that, along with my sister, who when I came up with the idea to start a museum, and again, it's a divine journey, she said, go ahead, it's needed. And see, again, we came up with $60,000 to start what it really takes millions of dollars to do.
Yeah.
We put our own, again, retirement funds into trying to make this a reality. And we really started out as hoping that the museum would have just been one room in a building that I had, that I was using as my photography studio. And then it went to 2 rooms and 3 rooms. And after 75,000 people, again, came into this little museum, in a hard to reach neighborhood, that's when, again, we were approached by the city and the county to, again, now have a $8 million museum in downtown Orangeburg, part of a $45 million building endeavor. So this is what we are a part of.
Wow, man. Well, start to see you have the last word, but with all this information that you revealing about the museum, I don't want that to be the last word, but
thank you so very much for the opportunity to be with you again. Both of you are doing a great job, and don't give up. Again, keep it's amazing how one person or sometimes 2 persons or fewer can impact society. So I really believe in the power and the capacity of us as individuals to do miraculous things. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
I got a co-host over there that she knows the work panel,
Well, I was just sitting here, the wheels are turning. I'm like, you know what? Snoop Dogg has used sound bites from you and others. We're going to have to figure out how to get their attention because they can knock this out just like that. So, we're going to have to go on Instagram and some of the other places where they tend to post comments.
I try to reach somebody like Chris Rock, from Georgetown,
right.
We gotta have a connection.
Professional athletes, but it's hard, and again, it's hard to reach, because often they're probably approached by so many people, but it's even hard to get, private individuals to who are well off, who can contribute. And especially since we are a 501c3, which
right.
Again, but it's very tough, and it's something that I was really not cut out to do. I've been a very poor fundraiser, and this is not really what I feel my calling is to do. But again, I'm trying to play the role, whatever it might be, to make this be something we can accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fundraising. It takes a special kind of person to to go into philanthropy and to be a resource director and developer and all of that. But we're not going to give up hope. We're going to figure out how to get you connected to some people, either through a viral moments on social media or even some of our networks, because Brother Edward is being a little modest, but he has a network of people that he can reach out to. And so we'll do whatever we can, but we just appreciate having you here tonight. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. And I have yet to visit the museum because I'm kind of between states, but it's always exciting to hear, the stories about the moments that the students in the Reading Roots program, which was founded by Marjorie McIver, but also she coordinates the entire program. And then also the WCM summer job students have the opportunity to travel as well. So Horry County is definitely exposing our students and young people to what you're doing down in Orangeburg. And it's essential that we do that. And so I'm going to make that trip one day with them. I'm going to come down.
You're welcome at
Yes.
any time. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Brother Elwood, you have the last word. Yeah.
Well, all I can say is just Godspeed, and we will see you at the new museum on time.
Great. Thank you. Well, you and your wife have a special invitation always to come. We're so appreciative of what you have done. We'll have in our interest area, a plaque of giving salute and appreciation to all those people who have helped us through the way. We could not have done it by ourselves. So again, thank you again for all that you have done.
And please include April of our co-host.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
We thank you so very much.
Especially since she hasn't been there yet. So
Okay. Well, you gotta come.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, she's Christian, the new one.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much.
We thank all of our viewers tonight, all of you who posted comments and showed your support. Please make sure that you spread, the messages within your networks. And I'm going to post the GoFundMe information once again. You can go to GoFundMe and pull up the page. As a matter of fact, let me show that page one more time so that you all are familiar with it. And make your contribution. Of course, every dollar counts. As Mr. Williams said, no dollar is too small an amount. You can do whatever. Get the children involved. Get the students involved and help support this Civil Rights Museum. So there it is. It's the Help Cecil Williams Finish Civil Rights Museum. If you go to GoFundMe, you can search by that title. And then also I have the URL posted here at the bottom of the screen. If you want to write that down and then pop it into your browser, you can do that as well. You can also visit South Carolina Civil Rights Museum.com. There's more information about the museum, and also ways to donate are shown on that particular site, as well as resources such as lesson plans and teacher-student guides that have been developed by Mr. Williams as well. So thank you so much. This is incredible, Brother Elwood.
I believe so. I really believe it's incredible.
Yes.
Again, Mr. Williams, we'll be seeing you at that new museum. Godspeed, God willing. Okay.
We thank you so very much from the bottom of our heart. Thank you.
Right. And our viewers, let's get it going with this GoFundMe, man. We can do it.
Thank you.
We can do it.
Let's make it happen. All right. Well, Brother Elwood, I have just one announcement that I want to make. It's regarding the Summer Jobs Program. We are, believe it or not, we just completed our 4th week of the employability skills course that the students are taking this summer, and we have had a wonderful time. This past week, they learned about financial literacy, and going into this Friday, we will explore their career aspirations, and they're going to do some presentations that will showcase what it is that they want to do after high school, and any future career aspirations that they have. And pretty soon they'll be doing some career visits with a few of our community partners, as well as a virtual career fair that is in the making. So we've got a lot in store for them over the next 2 weeks, and I just can't believe that it's gone by this quickly, Brother Edward. This isn't time is fleeting. It
scares
really
me.
I'm telling you.
Go by so fast. That's why we got to get that museum up and running. Okay. Time is not waiting on anybody.
That's right. That's right. So to all of our viewers, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching us tonight. Remember, share this broadcast across your networks. Go to the GoFundMe to support Mr. Cecil Williams and help him finish the Civil Rights Museum. And we will see you all next week, same time. Yes, absolutely. All right. Absolutely. Take care, everyone.
Godspeed.
Thank you again very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook.